Hello everyone and welcome to Reasons to Rejoice. When we do this, we're not being trite about the challenges that we face or the things that are going on in our world, lots of which are really truly awful. But what we are doing is, in the midst of all of those things, coming back to Jesus and who it is that we follow and why in him there is always cause for celebration and there's always cause for joy. And one of the things that for me always makes my heart glad when I think about the fact that I follow Jesus is that I am not doing this by myself. And the human race, we are always looking for answers to things. So I found out that Google has about 8.55 billion searches every single day. I actually went onto my Google earlier on today. I was trying to look up a verse from John's Gospel and I typed in the word John and it auto-filled the rest of it, John E. Walker, which I think shows that Scotland has got into my blood, or at the very least got into my algorithms. But ChatGPT alone has 10 million searches every single day, trying to work out an answer to this, or how do I deal with that, or can you tell me more information about this? What I love about following Jesus and the fact that we're not alone is that we have in him, as is foretold by Isaiah, in Isaiah chapter 9 verse 6, a wonderful counselor. Not a brilliant search engine, not someone who's going to give us a whole load of information, but a wonderful counselor. And what that means is someone who will counsel, who will guide, who will give to us wisdom. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where I just don't know what to do. Help, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to parent. I don't know who to date. I don't know how to date. I don't know how to support my friend who's going through something really painful. I don't know how to deal with some of the mental health challenges that I'm finding are coming my way. I'm an employer. I don't know how to solve this tricky situation in my workplace, how to make sure that we turn a profit and yet look after people and look after the planet. The world that we're a part of is incredibly complex. And what is such a relief is to rest in the fact that we don't do this by ourselves. We have alongside us a wonderful counselor. Solomon is kind of famous for this particular moment that happens in 1 Kings chapter 3, where God comes to him and says, "Hey Solomon, I will give you anything. What do you want?" And I'm always a little bit taken aback by Solomon's request because he doesn't ask for what I would have gone for. I would have gone for something like, if not a superpower, then at the very least, make me incredibly successful, make me undefeatable, make me, something along those lines would have been what I would have gone for. And Solomon instead asks for wisdom. And God is so delighted with this request that he says to him, not only am I going to make you the wisest person who's ever lived, but he goes on to say, I'm also going to give you a whole load of money as well. You're going to be incredibly wealthy. And sometimes when we read that, we can get a bit distracted by Solomon's wealth and forget what's really precious when you've got those two things in front of you, wisdom and wealth. What's super precious, it ain't the riches, it's the wisdom. That's what's precious, and that's what's a rare commodity in our world today. How do I live well? Well, we have a counselor who is wiser than Solomon, who really is the wisest person who's ever lived. And we also have an invitation. And it comes in James chapter 1 verse 5, where James writes, "If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God." And I read that and think, isn't that a little bit simple? It can't be that straightforward. If you lack wisdom, ask God. But this is what we're told, that we're to turn our problems into prayers and our conundrums into conversations with him, where we come to him and just say, would you please help me? I honestly don't know what to do. I'm baffled by this, or I'm struggling to see a way forward through this. Will you help me? And James goes on to say, if any of you lack wisdom, you should ask God. And he goes on, who gives generously. So what he's saying there is God isn't going to respond by giving us a tiny drop of wisdom, but he's going to pour wisdom out for us. And he goes on to say after that, to all without finding fault. And then just to really underline it, and it will be given to you. It will be given to you. I think he puts that in there to address that nagging little voice at the back of our mind that maybe is already speaking, which is, it won't be given to you. It will be given to you. Can we imagine, for example, a dad whose son really wants to get it right, and he's struggling with a particular problem. It's outside of his life experience. He's never been in a situation like that before, but his heart is good. He wants to do the right thing. He wants to make a decision that will mean he thrives, that those around him thrive, but he cannot, for the life of him, see what that decision is. What father, if a son came to him with that problem and said, "Hey, Dad, this one's too big for me. I want to get it right. I want to do the right thing. I just don't know what it is." What dad would not, at that point, step in to guide their son? We have a Father who wants to guide us. And so when we come to him and ask him for help, he always steps in. Isn't that always been how he works? We needed forgiveness, and he gave an abundance of it. We needed mercy, and he gave us an ocean of it, an ocean without shore and without bottom. We needed grace, and he poured it out, like a rainstorm upon us. We need wisdom. He will give it to us generously. Here's a reason to rejoice. We don't have to do this on our own. We have in him a wonderful counselor. We can always, always ask him for help.